Hello guys and welcome to episode 82 of the Beat Your Backlog podcast, a podcast discussing the things gamers like to put off, get to another day, and oh yes, will definitely beat later, their backlog. I'm your host Adam and today we are playing as a disgraced Yakuza sent to a cursed town to pay for his sins in Kaizen Gameworks' Promise Mascot Agency. The game released on April 10th, 2025 and is currently sitting at a 77, 85, 70 and 75 on PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox respectively, which is kind of strange that the Switch isn't in there, but yeah. And every once in a while, a game completely takes over your online discourse without you really knowing anything about the game. The last time this actually happened to me was Vampire Survivors. I remember logging onto Twitter back then and just seeing all of these videos about this game that I had no idea about called Vampire Survivors. And just because of the hype around the game, I decided to try it out more or less sight unseen and really got into the game and loved it. And that was the same for Promise Mascot Agency. That was sort of 2025's Vampire Survivors for me. That when the game released earlier on in the year, I saw a lot of stuff on social media about the game, about how good it was, about about Kaizen Gameworks, about their other game Paradise Killer, and just sort of bookmarked it as like, okay, this might be one to return to later. And from some other podcasters I listened to, from John in Gaming at Gaming in the Wild, he also really enjoyed it, and also Hopple in our Discord, he really liked the game too. So I decided, okay, it's getting towards the end of the year. What are the games that release this year that I should play to maybe consider being in my Game of the Year awards? And that is why I decided to check out Promise Mascot Agency recently, so in November now, rather than when it released. So what is Promise Mascot Agency, apart from quite a hard title for me to say apparently? Does it live up to the hype of those earlier days on social media? And did it earn a place on my Game of the Year list? Let's find out in this week's episode of the Beat Your Backlog podcast. But before we get into the episode, I would like to remind you that you can support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/beatyourbacklog. If you do, you'll gain access to all of my content 24 hours early, and you'll also get access to the Beat Your Bonus Vault, which is a vault of episodes that are sort of evergreen episodes that you can listen to at any time, that is only available for exclusive Patreon supporters. So if you decide to go and support at the $2 or $5 tier, you'll get access to the vault, you'll get all of my content for 24 hours earlier, and you will get my gratitude. So thank you so much if you consider going over there and supporting. So yeah, on to the show. And at its core, this game tells the story of Mikizane. So a lot of the names, as you haven't guessed already, are going to be Japanese, so I might be butchering them. But he is mostly known as Michi throughout the game, who is a Yakuza gangster from Fukoku, and also is someone who has two of the coolest nicknames I've ever heard in video games. One is the Janitor, and the second one is the Demon of Fukoka, which, says a lot about who Michi is. And after a massive screw-up involving a deal gone wrong and the loss of 12 billion yen, Michi fully expects to be executed by his family's matriarch for his failure. Instead, he is shown mercy, has his pinky chopped off, and is exiled to a cursed rural town in Kyushu called Kazomachi. His punishment is simple on paper but overwhelming in practice: take over a bankrupt mascot agency, revive it, and somehow repay the money he lost, all within a town that is known to slowly kill Yakuza. And when Michi arrives, he's introduced to Pinky, a mascot and the unhappy manager of the Promise Hotel, a love hotel that was set up after the mascot agency went under. Mascots in this world aren't people in suits, they're actual living beings, used by businesses to promote openings, products and events. Michi and Pinky decide to reopen the hotel under a new name, the Promise Mascot Agency, and from there the game slowly unfolds into something much bigger, involving a cursed town, a shady mayor, dark secrets, and buried Yakuza history that's been hidden away for decades. And yeah, if that doesn't entice you, I think it should. The story in this game is really, really good. It's sort of, the game, I guess at its heart, is sort of a management sim, but it does have this more intriguing story surrounding it. Like I said, with this cursed town. So the curse is that once Yakuza enter this town, they slowly die. And there is this big, I can't remember what it's called in Japanese, but it's like this big bear statue that kind of guards the town. And that's meant to tell the mountain spirits of the town that the Yakuza are here. And the Yakuza that have been to the town previously have either died very quick deaths or very long, drawn-out deaths. So it's sort of interesting that One, that Michi is given is given mercy by his matriarch to go and revive this business, this mascot agency, and two, that he's in this town where he's probably slowly going to die. Also it's a story about redemption, about changing who you are and about building a family, and also that family isn't necessarily the people that you're born into, but the people you choose to be with. The characters in this game are absolutely fantastic. You have the leading duo of Michi and Pinky, who is literally a pinky, like a severed pinky. So it's kind of like, those two complete each other. Michi is missing half of his pinky and Pinky is half of a pinky. Those two is kind of, they complete each other, and it makes this very cool sort of buddy drama. I want to say buddy cop, obviously not cops, buddy Yakuza drama, where you have the very stoic Michi, who is very serious, who only really cares about his family's survival. Only is sort of like a lapdog, doesn't really necessarily think himself. He's just always just does what he's told. And then you have Pinky, who is much more bubbly, a little bit unhinged, a little bit lives on the kind of the edge of her seat, and is there trying to tempt Michi into becoming a bit more of a character, a bit more of someone that enjoys life and isn't just thinking about how his family survives. And Pinky especially, I mean, I like Michi, but Pinky especially, I think she's one of the most memorable characters I've ever seen in a video game. Like I said, she's funny, she's witty, she's a little bit crazy at times. There's a lot of cool things in the game that you can do around her. Like, her dream is to become the mascot for the town, and there's like a whole thing where you take on this dodgy mayor and kind of battle him in these sort of mayoral debates, where you have to kind of counter debate his arguments as Pinky, which is really fun. She's a great character. And also the supporting cast is absolutely fantastic too. I loved all of the other mascots in the game, and even like quest givers, like characters that, I mean, that's maybe a bit unfair calling them quest givers, but there are sort of other side characters that are integral to the story, like Mrs. or Miss Wambui and Mr. Sato. Because they're both very memorable. I like how their stories play out. I like the kind of the personalities that they have, and it just all fits together nicely into this very memorable game, this very memorable town, and this sort of town of misfits, of strays, how they all come together and how they all really want to make this town better. That's kind of seen throughout the entire story. And as you progress in the town, as you build up the agency, as you build up the town's infrastructure, that gets reflected in the story, and it's really nice to see. That said, though, I do believe the game, it has a little bits of pacing issues with the story. Like, a lot of the game repeats itself a lot. And when you think about it logically, like, in real life, you would repeat yourself. So a lot of the repetition comes down to Michi or Pinky explaining who Michi is and explaining that he has made this mistake and that he's sent there basically to this town to repent for his sins. Which, like I said, if you're meeting someone for the first time, how would they know that? But me as a player, having heard it, let's say there's 15 mascots and probably like another 15 side characters, and each time you get introduced to them, there is some sort of repetition of this. So you probably heard it at least 30 times throughout the story, and you're like, okay, I get it. This we know why Michi's here. We know he made a mistake. We know he lost his money. It does get a little bit repetitive. And it can become a little bit tiring hearing it over and over again when you've already heard it so many times. It's also just a general thing that the game does. It just repeats itself a little bit. But otherwise, that was my only kind of criticism of the narrative. Like I said, I feel like the narrative is very heartfelt. It's very charming. It's made to make you like these characters, and I definitely did in the game. So and if we move on to the gameplay. The gameplay is split between open world exploration, management systems, and a surprisingly fun card-based battle mechanic. This is very surprising. The world itself feels like a smaller sandbox-style open map. If you think sort of the GTA games of the PS2 era, it's more or less that size. Maybe a bit bigger, because I always feel like those games feel a lot smaller now when you go back and play them compared to how they did when you first played them. But it is an open world. You drive around in this tiny van. I think it's called a K-van. which is just like this little 2-seater white van with like a little flatbed on behind it, which what's she called, Pinky sits in, which is quite funny. And you drive around, you collect items, you upgrade things, and a lot of it is more or less collecting collectibles. In many ways, in that respect, it does feel very Ubisofty, like on the highest extreme. Like this game is just rammed full of collectibles to collect. Like, so I said, yeah, you know, you have these sort of quest givers. They all have, I think, about 5 collectibles that you have to collect, and each time you do, it basically upgrades their hero card, which falls into the card-based battle mechanic, which we'll talk about a bit later. But there are things like where there are thousands and thousands of these placards from your rival, from the mayor who's your rival, that you have to knock down by firing Pinky out of a cannon, which is quite funny the first time you do it, but literally there are thousands of them. Like I probably wiped out maybe 2,000 and only had, I think, 80% of them all done throughout the entire island. And then also there are these bags of rubbish just littered everywhere, where, you know, pretty much in any direction, if you threw a stone, you would hit 5 of them. So you were wiping out thousands and thousands of them. And again, I think by the end of the game, I'd only finished 60% of them or something like that. So yeah, it's really like, if you are into collectathons, if you are into just driving around and just ticking off everything on the map, this game is perfect for you. I kind of took it and leave it. Those things, obviously, with the placards and the rubbish, I sort of left it. I did it as I saw them because it was fun. It gave you something to do as you were driving around. Like you fired with the right bumper button. It gave you something to do. But there were more meaningful collectibles. Like I said, the quest givers, their collectibles were quite good because you wanted to upgrade their cards. There's also ways that you can upgrade your van by chasing after these wolf spirits that sort of are racing around the map, and you have to run after them to try to catch them. And yeah, it's a lot to do, but I did enjoy that part. That part kind of felt like the nice repetitiveness in a good way that Ubisoft games have, right? Like it's always nice going into a Ubisoft game to an Assassin's Creed and climbing up a tower and unlocking that part of the map and seeing the things pop. But after a while, you might not want to chase every single thing down, and that was the same thing in this game. The card battles, those were very interesting. Like I had no idea. Like I said, I mostly went into this game blind. I knew the whole thing around the mascots, obviously, but the card battles, how they work is when you go into, so you have to send a mascot out on a job, and what that means is that they will go and do a job and work for someone, and you can send them out and more or less equip them with an item, which gives them a chance not to sort of mess the job up. But most of the time, at least in the early game, they will mess the job up where something will happen. So if you're watching the video, you'll see one of the events is your mascot gets caught in a door. So it's like really funny things like that, or like a stove will explode, or a vending machine will break, or an uneven floor will cause the mascot to trip over. And the whole premise behind this sort of mechanic is that to get publicity, these events have been live streamed on this special live stream that's just for mascot agencies, and this happening is obviously very embarrassing. So you have to use these hero cards, which are characters throughout the game that have different stats to help your character get through this issue. So what that means is yeah, you play these cards. The cards, they have like they have a mana cost. They have they can give you back mana, they can help you draw cards, and then they all have these different attributes to them, and depending on the event that you're doing, you will need a different attribute. So it doesn't really go into too much detail of what the attributes are. It's mostly, I just always thought of them as colors. There's like a blue one, a red one, a green one, a yellow one, etc. And at the top of the screen, you'll see that there is a health bar, and basically you need to knock down whatever the number is on that health bar down to 0, and if you manage to do that without running out of actions, you will then you'll successfully beat the activity, and then you'll get more money and more prestige, or popularity, I think it's called, and then that will help you grow and get you more jobs. And yeah, in the card game, it's very simple. It's made way more stressful though, because there is a 60-second timer that counts down, so it really makes you feel like you have to rush, even though actually when you get further into the game you realize the 60-second counter is way more than enough time. And yeah, it's interesting because obviously at the start of the game you start off with these hero cards that aren't very good, so it might, they might cost you one action but only do a small amount of damage, but the more that you upgrade them, they might cost you 2 actions but give you 3 actions back and also help you draw 3 cards. So it's all about actually more not necessarily paying attention to how much damage you will do to the bar. At least how I played it was how much action cost each card took and what the draw cost was. So if I could get a card that cost me less action points than it gave me, then obviously I would play those cards first, even if the damage that they did was less than another card that might have cost 2 actions and not given me any back. So there is like a little bit of strategy in there. There is a little bit of stress because of the, like I said, the timer, the 60-second timer. It makes you really, when you have to learn the game, it makes it really stressful because you think, oh, I don't have much time to make my decisions. But it turns out that, yeah, like I said, by the end of the game, you have enough decisions. Like I remember in one of the final boss fights, I was just drawing tons and tons of cards until I drew my entire deck. So I had 60 cards just lined up on the screen and I think I had about 20 action points. So I was like, oh yeah, I can literally play all of these cards if I want to, which was pretty cool. So yeah, so it is a cool mechanic, and like I said, it was one that I really wasn't expecting to find in this game. And the game is sort of like a hodgepodge, so that you have that part, and the main part that plays into with the cards is then the management side. So yeah, which is a really strong aspect of the game, as it should be, because that's the whole point. You're supposed to be this manager of this agency that you're trying to revive from nothing. And yeah, as I stated earlier, you can recruit up to 15 mascots throughout the game. You have to pay their salaries. You can also you sort of negotiate their contract. So when you hire them, you say, okay, you can have days off, you can have an extra bonus after so many jobs, you can have an extra salary increase, you can do lots of different things to get them on side to basically sign for you, and then that also affects their motivation, which also affects their jobs, how well they do the jobs later on down the road. But yeah, you basically pay the salaries, send them out on jobs, and then you watch them level up. And each mascot has multiple levels, and as they progress, you unlock dialogue that reveals their motivations and their personal struggles. And a standout early example is a character called Tofu, which is a piece of tofu, as you might expect, that is crying all of the time. They are the first mascot that you recruit, and it's just really like heartwarming and sort of wholesome watching this character grow from this sort of very like this nervous wreck, very doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, to being your number one mascot for the company, which is really awesome. And yeah, I like that genuinely with all of the mascots. I felt like they all had very interesting sort of story arcs and reasons why they were in Kazamachi, why they wanted to work for your mascot agency, and I always made sure that I went back to level them up to hear what their story was. The same is for the town residents. As I said before, if you complete their sort of fetch quests, it doesn't just sort of upgrade their hero card, it also gives you, again, like more levels of their story. And yeah, it's cool because, like I said, this entire town is a town of misfits and a town of strays. So it was interesting too, hearing about why these people how these people ended up in Kazamachi, what is important to them, and again what their dream is, because that's what this game is also about, is like fulfilling people's dreams. And it's also cool because the better that you know these people and learn what their dreams are, you can understand, well, okay, this is what they want you to put your money into. So they all have like business opportunities. One is reopening the harbour and making it into sort of a fish market. Another one is reopening the train station to bring in tourists. Another one is that's maybe one of the mascots, but there's another one where you have to like open a castle. So yeah, which is cool because then when you invest in these kind of side hustles, so to say, you aren't just making money from your mascot's work, you're also making money passively from these side quests, which is really cool. So it's nice, it's like a nice synergy, like getting to know the characters, it progresses their story, it also helps you progress their hero cards for the card-based battles, and it also helps you kind of progress the management side because you can earn money passively from their businesses, which is really cool. But yeah, it is really cool. Like, there are a lot of mechanics in the game, and I do think they're very balanced well. But I think one thing the game sort of falls out on is, like, the game is split up into 4 acts. And the biggest issue I had was how money and upgrading businesses is handled throughout those acts, because the game obviously what emphasizes that you need to make as much money as possible, because you need to make this 12 billion yen back, and when you start off, you're making tens of thousands, and then eventually hundreds of thousands, and then eventually millions, and then hundreds of millions. So my philosophy was, well, I want to make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible. So I really leaned into that. I bought every single kind of side hustle when I could. I renovated every sort of business that I could. I optimized the passive income. There's also like another passive income you can do where you franchise out the Promise Mascot Agency and have to find these kind of like semi-mascots to go and work in these other sort of branches of the agency around Kyushu, which is cool. I went and found all of them and did them as soon as I could. But it meant that by the final act of the game, I was sat with like 13 million yen sitting around in my bank account with nothing really meaningful to spend it on, because even though there is a lot of money that you have to pay back, you don't, after the first 10 million yen or so, you don't really get any benefits for it. So for the first 10 million yen, you basically get buffs and bonuses from your matriarch, who will say, okay, I can make it so that your power for the Promise Mascot Agency is like 20% cheaper now, because you do have costs for the agency, or like your internet might be cheaper, or things like that. But after about the first 10 million, there's not really anything. It's not really worth spending the money to pay it back unless you really have to. So it really meant that for the final sort of act, or maybe 2 acts of the game, I just had loads of money, didn't really have anything to spend it on. I was going around more or less to all of the different characters who are vendors, because most of the characters are vendors too, and you can buy hero cards, separate hero cards there, and it might be that there's like one character that has 5 cards that you need to upgrade. And I would go around to every single vendor and make sure I bought all 5 cards. So I had the ultra rare version of that card from then, and I still just had lots of money in sort of the bank. And it became a little bit of like, okay, well, it seems like I've done everything. I just need to focus on like finishing the story now, because I've done all of the like gameplay part of it, or at least the managerial side of the gameplay. There are even more ways to make money, which I ignored. There's like a claw machines type game where you find merchandise from different mascots around the world, and it all gets put into this claw machine, and you play the claw machine. It drags it. You pull out the merchandise, and then you can send it off to different shops, and that's like another way of making passive income. But I just never ever did it, because 1, I didn't like the claw machine game, and 2, I just didn't need the money, so I never really felt like messing around with it. So I do really wish that like the upgrades had been paced out a little bit better across the game, so there was always meaningful things to invest in, even at the late stages of the game. Because by the final act, I really just felt like I was going from like A to B for the story beats, just to play through the story, because I had nothing else to do. Also, from a gameplay point, I think there are some quality of life issues that could have been improved on, especially when sending out mascots on a job, because by the end of the game, you're managing 15 mascots, and it does become very tedious. How mascots are assigned is that like each mascot has like an icon, or 2 icons, that kind of explain what type of mascot they are. So one might be it's like a scary one, and one might be it's like a happy one. One might be like it's like a sexy mascot. One might be it's a weird looking mascot. And jobs will come in on a long board, and the board is ranked based on how much money the job pays, and it will show you which icon that job needs. So it'd be like, okay, this job needs a happy mascot, and then it will, when you click on it, it will show you this is the happy mascot, you should assign it. And and like I said, when you have 15 mascots and you more or less sending them all out in waves, it can become a bit tedious to just like basically spam the A button to just reassign all of these mascots to jobs. I really wish there was just like a quick assign where you were like, okay, the game knows that I have these mascots available, and it knows that there are these jobs that need these certain mascots. If you could just press like Y or Q, what am I talking about? Y or X, and it would just quick assign them. That would have been great. That would have saved a lot of time. But yeah, otherwise you were just basically cycling through menus, which does become a little bit exhausting in the late game, especially because you feel like you don't need to do it because you have enough money. But yeah, again, like with the story, this is like just a little bit of feedback where I'm like, it wasn't game breaking, or it didn't like ruin my experience, but it's just something that as I was playing, I was like, oh, this would have been a nice to have. Talking of really nice to have, the graphical style of Promise Mascot Agency is like nothing I've ever seen before, and I think it looks great. The story is delivered with gorgeously drawn 2D graphics. The character designs, particularly the mascots, are creative and imaginative, and my personal favourites being Trororo, that's spelled Trororo, a yam-covered cat who is a keen AV enthusiast, and AV in this sense means porn, and Tamageta, who is a boiled egg who loves spending time in a hot spring, which is funny, and like the lore behind him is that he, what was it, like his mother was a chicken and his father was a human, and he was born in the spring and became the hard-boiled egg or something like that. So there is definitely a lot of imagination behind these mascots, a lot of fun behind the mascots. There's another guy who is a keen gamer, and he wants you to go around and find that old arcade cabinets that people have just dumped, and then he builds an arcade in the dump, which is funny. The characters are really, really cool. There's another one that's called is it Kato, or whatever the word for cat is, salaryman. So it's a cat salaryman who, when he comes to Kasumachi, he wants to get revenge on his bosses who fired him, and then as you get to know him, he finds other goals in life, so he calms down and realizes that this was like a good thing for him. So they're really interesting characters, and really their designs are awesome. Like I suggest you go and look at them, especially Tofu. He looks great, and there are some other ones that just look fantastic. And in addition to the excellent 2D art, the game has a very unique 3D art style, which at first I found a little bit off-putting, because it really reminded me of late PlayStation 2, early PS3 graphics. But as I played the game more, I really came to love it because it's very purposefully retro. Again, it gave me the nostalgia sort of feel for GTA 3 specifically, because that PlayStation 2 early PS3 era, I felt like it was everything was kind of, the colors were very dulled and sort of muddy looking. Also in this game, the characters aren't animated, so that's unfair to say. The characters are animated. Like, you'll see them walk up to each other, but then they'll just stand still as they talk in sort of the pose that their character is doing in the 2D assets, which is cool. So it almost gives the game like this diorama feel, like these characters have just been moved around in a diorama. And like I said, they will change poses. So like if one's angry, like he'll put his fist up, but then if in the dialogue his 2D image is him happy, then he'll put his hands down by his side. So it's kind of very it's very unusual, but I do really like it. Like, I think by the end of the game, I really loved it. It was something that you don't really see in games like this sort of like stripped back 3D assets and 3D animation, but it really, really works, especially with the 2D sprites that kind of play as you are reading, or actually as you are listening to the story. It's really cool and really unusual. Another really cool thing about the game is the music in Promise Mascot Agency, composed by Alpha Chrome Yayo, is really like top tier. There are so many great tracks in this game. My favorite being Perfume and Poison, which is this track that plays when you're inside the Promise Mascot Agency, like as you were managing stuff there. Such a good song. Like, it's so just like upbeat and happy, but kind of weird. Like, it just has this weird beat where it really just feels like the artist just went in and just kind of played something on the keyboard, like the main melody, and then got it to loop at the end. It's just strangely like awesome. I love it. The other standout tracks that I really liked were Thunder God, which it feels so different to that track that I just explained. Thunder God is more like a heavy metal rock track with like shredding guitars. And then there's Noro Ware Tamachi, which is also like eerily good. Like, whenever you are at a shrine, it kind of plays, and it's sort of like this, those like string instruments, like Asian string instruments where it's only like two strings and you play it with a bow, and it's kind of like someone is like really like almost like slashing the bow across it. Like, it just kind of like hurts your ears a little bit, but it just sounds so good. And another one, Gambaru, is also awesome. Gets your heart pumping, just gets you going. Like, it's just very fast and fun. And yeah, it's not often, honestly, that I listen to video game soundtracks outside of games. Like, I appreciate video game soundtracks for what they are, and you know, the moments that they give you in games, how they really lift up those moments. But the one from Promise Mascot Agency by Alpha Chromeo is really good. I listen to it all the time when I'm working on the podcast or doing something where I just have music on in the background, because it's a great soundtrack. So I really really think you should go and check it out if you haven't done so already. Another thing about the game's sound that is excellent is the voice acting, and it was an interesting decision, but I think a great decision, to just feature Japanese only voice work, and as it really immerses you in Michi and Pinky's world. The performances are top notch, which is no surprise considering the actors such as Takaya Kuroda, who plays Kazuma Kiryu in the Yakuza series, or Like a Dragon, I think it's called now, right? He plays Michi, and then you have Ayano Shibuya, who plays Pinky, who played the character Puya in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, it's always like, I always think it's a bonus when you play an indie game that has voice acting in it, but it's even better when it's really like high quality voice acting and really high caliber, which it is in Promise Mascot Agency. And just one thing that I want to mention again about this kind of immersion in this world is that it's amazing how Japanese this game feels. Like, it's set in rural Japan. The art style leans heavily into like anime aesthetics. All of the voice acting is in Japanese, but it was really surprising, like when I finished the game and was waiting for the credits, that all of the names in the credits were Western sounding. And then I looked into it a little bit, and yeah, Kaizen Gameworks, even the name of the studio sounds very Japanese. Is actually a British studio, and it was also interesting to see that the game had been funded by the UK Arts Fund or whatever at the end of the game. So it's just cool, like just how authentic they got this game to feel to Japan, and also just like the kind of quirkiness of the game, but which you only see a lot in Japanese entertainment or Japanese culture. They really seem to have nailed in this game. So it's really cool. Like, that doesn't always happen, that people, they kind of take a different culture and try to repeat it, and it doesn't always pay off. But honestly, they did an amazing job in this game. If you are like a Japanese fan of Japanese culture, or so many people I know have been to Japan in the last year or so, or are planning on going to Japan. If you want that feeling of Japan again, then definitely play this game, because they absolutely nail it. So, should you play Promise Mascot Agency? And for me, Promise Mascot Agency is an absolute must-play and will land high on my Game of the Year list for 2025. I had such a great time playing it that my 18-hour playthrough absolutely flew by. It's charming, heartfelt, weird in the best way, and packed with systems that mostly work together beautifully. Yes, there are a couple of small issues, such as the pacing of the story, and my wish that there had been more to spend my money on. However, the game's strengths far outweigh these minor problems. Michi and Pinky are excellent yin-yang lead characters, brought to life by legendary Japanese voice actors such as Takaya Kuroda and Ayano Shibuya. It's impressive that Kaizen Gameworks managed to make me care so much about a severed Pinky. The supporting cast is fantastic as well, with each character having a memorable backstory, clear motivation, and really wanting the Promise Mascot Agency and Kaizo Machi itself to improve. The mix of gorgeous 2D art and retro-inspired 3D visuals grew on me over time, and I came to love it. The soundtrack, composed by Alpha Chromeo, is outstanding, with an abundance of excellent tracks throughout the game. I enjoyed Promise Mascot Agency so much so that I wanted more, and I've already bought Kaizen's other game, Paradise Killer, which many people say is even better. The fact that I went out and purchased their other game straight away just shows how good Promise Mascot Agency really is, and I really hope you do try the game out, because I absolutely loved it. So yeah, that was Promise Mascot Agency, a great game. If you're interested in review scores, I actually gave it a 9 out of 10 for my review. The written review is up on Patreon, which you can go and check out now, or you should be able to check it out now. And yeah, little teaser there / spoiler, but it will feature in my Game of the Year podcast, which should be the next podcast after this one. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then make sure you subscribe, so that you get the notifications when that episode goes up. It's going to be an interesting podcast. Like most of the time when I do my year, so games of the year, you know, it's the games that I play in that year, because I do play my games from my backlog, or most of the time I play games from the backlog. So it's always games that I played in that year that were my favorite, not necessarily games that released it that year. This year though, it is a lot of games that released in 2025. I did play a lot of new games this year. So I hope you'll keep an eye out for that and see where Promise Mascot Agency lands on that list. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening and or watching episode 82 of the Beat Your Backlog podcast. Have you played Promise Mascot Agency? Is it going to be on your game of the year list for 2025? And yeah, have you checked out Paradise Killer? If you're a Spotify, Patreon, or YouTube listener, you can let me know by commenting on the episode below. And if you're listening anywhere else, then let me know on Blue Sky. Just search for Beat Your Backlog, or come and join the Discord. The link will be in the description. If you enjoyed the episode and would like to show your support, consider joining my Patreon at the $2 or $5 tier. If you do, you will get access to all of my content 24 hours before everyone else, and get access to my Patreon exclusive podcast, Beat Your Bonus. If you're in the mood to listen to more indie game content, then check out episodes 79 and 81 about Dispatch and Wonder Stars. Will either of those games be on my Game of the Year list? You'll have to find out next time. And finally, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. The reviews help new people find us, and it's always nice to see when someone gives us a 5-star review. So thank you so much if you do that, and thank you if you decide to listen to the Patreon. To subscribe to the Patreon, or you listen to any of my other episodes, or read any of my content. I really appreciate it. So hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye bye.